Imagine making millions of dollars from crime, and then realizing you have one problem. You can't spend the money, because the moment you try to use it, someone might ask where it came from. So what do criminals do? They make dirty money. Look clean. And one of the most famous stories behind this idea starts with a gangster named Al Capone. Stay until the end, because every story may sound familiar until I tell it to you. In the 1920s, Chicago was booming, but underneath the city's normal life, a massive criminal economy was growing, and at the center of it was Al Capone. Capone made enormous amounts of money from illegal activities, especially during Prohibition. Alcohol was banned, but people still wanted to drink. And where there is demand, someone will find a way to supply it. Capone's organization made money from bootlegging, gambling, and other criminal operations. But there was a problem. Imagine having millions of dollars and no legitimate explanation for where it came from. You can't simply walk into a bank and say, "I made this money selling illegal alcohol." The money itself becomes evidence. And this is where the story gets interesting. According to the famous story, criminal organizations used cash-heavy legitimate businesses, such as laundries, to make illegal money appear connected to normal business activity. Dirty cash could be mixed with legitimate-looking revenue, creating the appearance that the money came from ordinary customers. And this is where the famous phrase, money laundering, became associated with organized crime. But here's the twist. The idea of disguising illegal money didn't begin with Capone. Criminals had been hiding and disguising wealth long before him. What made the Capone story so famous was what happened next. The government eventually found it extremely difficult to prove many of Capone's violent and organized crimes, but investigators discovered something much simpler: money, tax records, and unexplained income. Capone's problem wasn't necessarily, "Can you prove I committed every crime?" It became, "Can you explain how you got all this money?" And that changed everything. In 1931, Al Capone was convicted of federal income tax evasion. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison. The gangster who had survived years of criminal investigations was finally brought down by his finances. And that taught investigators an important lesson. Sometimes, you don't have to follow the crime. You can follow the money. But money laundering didn't disappear with Capone. It evolved. As organized crime became more sophisticated, financial systems became more complicated too. Criminals began using networks of companies, bank accounts, international transactions, and complicated financial structures to hide where money really came from. And governments started fighting back. Banks were increasingly required to monitor suspicious transactions, identify customers, and report activity that could indicate financial crime. Then globalization changed the game again. Money could move across borders faster than ever. A criminal organization could operate in one country, move money through another, and attempt to make it appear legitimate somewhere else. And eventually, the digital age arrived. Now, money doesn't even have to physically exist as cash. It can move through electronic accounts, online businesses, complex financial networks, and digital assets. The technology changed, but the basic idea remained the same. Take money connected to crime, hide its origin, and make it look legitimate. Today, money laundering is no longer just a gangster problem. It can be connected to organized crime, fraud, corruption, drug trafficking, terrorist financing, and many other serious crimes. And that's why modern financial institutions spend enormous resources trying to detect suspicious activity, Because somewhere inside millions of legitimate transactions, there could be money trying to disappear. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of the story. Money laundering isn't really about making dirty money disappear. It's about making the trail disappear. Because criminals don't just need money. They need a believable story about where that money came from. And that is why the battle between criminals and investigators has continued for more than a century. The methods keep changing. The technology keeps changing. The financial system keeps changing. But the question remains the same. Where did the money come from? And sometimes, that question is enough to bring an entire criminal empire crashing down, because every question creates another story. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.